Life is only about two things, distinguishing none of your business and none of my business.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's Black Dog Reader. The book we're talking about today has a title with a huge impact right off the bat. Called Life is Only About Two Things, None of Your Business and None of My Business. The author is the million-copy best-selling writer, Lao Yang Zhao. Many people, when they first see this title, might think it's a book teaching you to be cold, to lash out, or to isolate yourself from the world. But once you actually dive in, you'll find that it's not teaching you to be rude. Rather, it's teaching you the most important skill for an adult, a sense of boundaries.
Exactly. The subtitle of this book is also key, which is, don't turn other people's opinions into your life's to-do list. This sentence is actually perfect for us today. Every day when we scroll through our phones, there's always someone telling us how we should work, love, show filial piety, and succeed. They even want to dictate whether you should get married, have kids, or quit your job. Everyone wants to make decisions for you. Over time, it becomes very easy to mistake other people's standards for our own life's homework.
Hi hosts, and hello to everyone. The most valuable part of this book is that it uses sharp, witty, and sometimes brutally honest language to force us to redefine three boundaries. The first one is the boundary between myself and others. Other people's lives are not my construction site. My life is not a model home for others, either. The second one is the boundary between emotions and actions. I can feel uncomfortable, I can get angry. I can feel wronged, but I cannot let my emotions make decisions for me. The third one is the boundary between kindness and people-pleasing. Kindness is my willingness to understand others, while people-pleasing is my fear of being disliked.
So the core of this book is not actually I don't care about anyone, but rather, knowing what I should care about and what I should leave alone. It's not I don't care about anyone, but I'm no longer carrying everyone else's opinions on my shoulders.
Absolutely. In the preface, the author describes a contradiction many of us experience. We have low EQ, yet we are highly sensitive. We like excitement, but hate crowds. We suppress negative emotions while struggling to look positive and cheerful. This isn't just a critique, it describes a common modern dilemma. We desperately want to be understood, yet we are terrified of being seen through. We want to be ourselves, yet we are afraid of being disliked.
And the direction the author points us in is to first accept a brutal truth. No matter what you do, how you choose, or how you live, there will always be someone who doesn't understand you, dislikes you, or looks down on you. So if that's the case, shouldn't we take our energy back and focus it on what truly matters?
Exactly. That is the true meaning of the title. None of your business reminds us not to barge into other people's lives and boss them around. None of my business reminds us not to let other people's opinions become our shackles. But these two phrases are not about avoiding responsibility. What I am responsible for is 100% my business. But for things I shouldn't interfere with, no matter how strong my opinion is, I must learn to step back. Being tactful is the safety valve in adult socializing.
The first major theme of the book is being tactful. This term sounds a bit old-fashioned, like advice an elder would give you. But the author explains it in a very modern way. Professor, why is being tactful so important?
The author says that being tactful is the safety valve of socializing. Most relationships fall apart, not necessarily over major principles, but often simply because someone doesn't know their boundaries. Like asking about income, relationships, or family background on a first meeting. Being overly enthusiastic when you barely know someone, forcing contact info, or aggressively selling things. Mistaking polite responses for close friendship. Or badgering someone with "did you forget?" when they never explicitly agreed in the first place.
The story in the book about selling insurance at a wedding is a classic example. She thought she was being warm, but the other person just felt pressured. Later, she even plagiarized articles and forced a friend request, completely mistaking politeness for a close relationship.
This is exactly what the author means. Once enthusiasm goes too far, it becomes an intrusion. Once good intentions lose their sense of boundary, they become a burden. Many people aren't malicious, they just fail to realize that someone being polite to you doesn't mean they want to build a relationship with you. That someone not refusing on the spot doesn't mean they've agreed. And just because someone is good at something, doesn't mean they are obligated to do it for you.
The book also touches on a common phenomenon in the workplace and social circles, which is using "I don't know how" to dump your own responsibilities onto someone else.
Yes. The most powerful skill in the world is definitely "I don't know how." Because as soon as some people say "I don't know how," their chore instantly becomes yours. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, but if you use "I don't know how" as an excuse every single time, without learning, paying, reciprocating, or reducing how often you bother others, then that's not asking for help, that's draining the relationship.
This is actually quite brutal. Many people think they are just asking a friend for a small favor, but that friend might be using their rest time, work time, or even time that belonged to their family to help you.
Exactly. So the author reminds us that asking for help should meet a few conditions. You actually have a solid relationship, and the other person feels the same way. The other person gets a tangible benefit, like you being willing to pay. You are actively trying to learn, avoiding repeatedly bothering them with the same issue. And the frequency of asking is low, ideally only as a last resort. Otherwise, while you think you're getting a free ride, you're actually slowly becoming a nuisance.
So tactful people understand, just because someone knows how, doesn't mean they are obligated to help me. Just because someone is wealthy, doesn't mean I don't have to pay them back. Just because someone doesn't dislike me, doesn't mean they like me. And just because someone didn't say no, doesn't mean they said yes. This chapter is really teaching us to have less self-delusion and more self-awareness. I like you best when you shut up.
The title of this next chapter is brutally honest. I like you best when you shut up. This line probably hits close to home for a lot of people. Professor, why does the author place so much importance on shutting up?
Because the problem with many people is not a lack of goodwill, but that their goodwill gets warped the moment they speak. There's a type of person who loves to correct, guide, and lecture you from just a step away. You talk about a movie, and he says you don't understand life. You share a new perspective, and he immediately looks for loopholes. You're just making small talk, and he turns it into a debate match. These people might seem knowledgeable, but they are really just using their mouths to seek validation.
Mr. Q in the book, who loves reciting ancient prose and lecturing young people, is a classic case. He's not engaging in a conversation, he's hijacking the topic to dominate it.
Right. Casual conversation isn't a quiz show or a debate championship. Most of the time, people just want to exchange feelings, not to be graded by you. The author says that when you can't speak words of gold, you must understand that silence is golden. The point here is not to suppress yourself, but to recognize that some words don't help at all and only annoy people further.
An even more common scenario is making inappropriate jokes. Some people joke about others' appearance, age, body shape, family, or love life. And when the offended person gets upset, they say, "I was just kidding, don't be so sensitive."
The author makes this very clear. The prerequisite for a joke is that the person being joked about finds it funny too. If your humor is built on someone else's embarrassment, that's not a joke, it's public mockery. The essence of high EQ is not about being slick, but about showing empathy and consideration. If you don't know what someone has been through, don't go looking for punchlines in their wounds.
This book also reminds us not to easily say, "I'm doing this for your own good." Most of the time, the real translation of this phrase is, "You must listen to me, or else you are ungrateful."
Indeed. People who love saying "I'm doing this for your own good" tend to adopt a self-righteous attitude, as if they are executing a sacred decree. They don't necessarily understand your life, yet they desperately want to be the referee of it. Truly sincere advice helps people improve day by day. It doesn't make them feel utterly humiliated. True care treats the other person as someone with the agency to choose, rather than packaging your own experience as absolute truth and forcing it into their hands.
Therefore, the mouth is a very dangerous tool. It can express goodwill, but it can also inflict harm. It can build trust, or it can make people glad they don't know you.
Exactly. The author has a line well worth remembering: guard your tongue in a crowd, and guard your heart in solitude. Truly mature people don't easily lecture others, nor do they spread stories of others' embarrassment. For things others find hard to talk about, they know to leave them unasked. And faced with others' contempt or misunderstandings, they often choose to just smile in silence. This isn't weakness, it's because they know their time and mindset are worth much more. Emotions are expensive, don't let your temper foot the bill.
Another extremely important theme of this book is emotional management. The author has a very brutal line. If you don't have the ability to clean up the mess, don't indulge your volatile emotions. This quote is perfect to put on your phone's lock screen.
Adults can have emotions, but they can't use them as a free pass. In the book, there is a Ms. Zhu who, because of a humiliating comment from a teacher, and threw her math textbook onto the podium. She felt incredibly relieved in that moment, but the consequence was that she hated math more and more, and ultimately paid the price in a crucial exam. She also once lost control and hit her brother over a joke, leading to years of estrangement between them. Only later did she realize that when things happen, you must calm your emotions first, before thinking about how to handle the situation. If your emotions aren't settled, things will definitely get messed up.
Many people think losing their temper is solving the problem, when it's actually just creating new ones. Especially when you take it out on those close to you. They might tolerate it in the moment, but in the long run, it will slowly wear the relationship down.
Exactly. Don't use your sour face to affect other people's lives. And don't let a temporary fit of anger entangle or provoke those who have lost control of their emotions. Some people in life are like garbage trucks full of emotional trash, filled with disappointment, anxiety, irritability, frustration, and anger. Once it's full, they need a place to dump it. When facing this kind of person, the best way is not to confront them, but to walk away.
The part in the book about relationships is also a classic. Some people take it for granted that their partner will never leave, so they cross boundaries at will, explode in anger over nothing, and constantly use breaking up as a litmus test, only to end up driving the person away for good.
Yes. Many people want to receive more love, yet they constantly fight to win or lose in relationships. You think you are verifying love, but you are actually consuming it. It feels satisfying to say harsh words, but the one who ends up hurting is also you. You are the one shouting for a breakup, yet you're also the one waiting for them to chase you back. Human relationships are not as sturdy as you think. You throw a tantrum, and that person might have absolutely nothing to do with you anymore.
So emotional stability doesn't mean having no emotions. It means knowing how to handle them when they arise, without letting them ruin your life.
Exactly. When you're sad, you can eat something delicious. You can go for a run, you can confide in someone reliable, or you can watch a comedy movie. But don't take your anger out on those closest to you. And don't publicly broadcast your embarrassing moments to the whole world. Controlling your emotions isn't hypocrisy, it's about making a fool of yourself as rarely as possible. A truly mature person can ask themselves when they're about to explode: is this matter worth getting angry over? Is this person worth making myself look ugly for? Hard work is not a lottery ticket. Life won't clear a path just because you feel wronged.
This book doesn't just talk about relationships, it also talks about reality, effort, and self-responsibility. The author has a chapter titled, "Everyone is Charging Forward. Why on earth should you be in the lead?" This sentence is harsh, but very sobering.
This chapter shatters a common illusion. I've already worked hard, so the world should reward me. A lot of times, giving it your all only guarantees you won't fall too far behind. Going to the gym a few times won't immediately give you a model's physique. Working hard for a short while doesn't mean you will suddenly become the core of the company. And studying for a few years doesn't mean your insights will be superior to others. The point of working hard is not to guarantee a miracle, but to increase your odds slightly.
This is quite different from many self-help books. It doesn't say, as long as you try, the whole world will help you, but rather highlights that everyone is working hard, and you are not the only one struggling.
Right. That's a very mature sense of reality. The author also discusses a just okay life. He says that when a person's attitude toward life, work, and relationships deteriorates, it almost always starts with being satisfied with just okay. Work is just okay, learning is just okay, behavior is just okay, and relationships are just okay. But almost succeeding is still failing. Almost passing is still failing, and almost being together is still missing the chance. The line between mediocrity and excellence often lies in the very details you think you can overlook.
The author also says, a low-grade life is nothing but the sum of lowering your standards countless times. And so-called innate talent is actually the accumulation of pushing forward relentlessly. This really hits close to home.
Yes. The book also has another important point. Most of life's misfortunes are mostly self-inflicted. This isn't saying all hardships are the individual's fault, but it reminds us not to just think about changing environments the moment we hit a bump. Wanting to change classes when school goes poorly, wanting to change partners when relationships hit a rough patch, or wanting to change jobs when work is going poorly. Yet never asking if one's own ability, expression, patience, and action have actually improved. Many people don't lack dreams, they just have plenty of imagination but zero execution.
The guy in the book who wants to get a PhD, move to a big city, and become a professor is in exactly this state. He has dreams, and he has a ton of excuses, but in reality, he hasn't done a single thing.
The people laughing at him aren't laughing at his dreams, but at his complete lack of action after loudly announcing them. Dreams aren't pipe dreams. Over-imagination will drain your passion, because imagining takes no effort, while executing hits walls. But the problem is, imagination alone cannot sustain a life. You shout about wanting to change, yet your body stays frozen in place. And in the end, except for your age, wrinkles, and worries growing, nothing else has progressed.
So none of my business here is not about dodging responsibility, but about reclaiming it. You don't need to take everyone else's opinions upon yourself. But you must own up to your own laziness, procrastination, sloppiness, and escapism.
This is precisely the core spirit of the book. You cannot control how the world sees you, but you can increase your value of being seen. You can't demand fate to favor you, but you can stop leaving your life to chance. And you can't guarantee hard work will succeed, but you can guarantee that not trying will leave you with fewer and fewer choices. When you are weak, bad people are everywhere.
There is a very famous and realistic quote in the book. When you are weak, bad people are everywhere. This sentence sounds a bit harsh at first, even a bit snobbish. But the author isn't trying to worship the strong. He's reminding us of how reality actually works.
When you don't yet have the power to choose, a voice, or the initiative, many doors will turn into hurdles. If you have enough capability, it's a door, and people will welcome and guide you in. If you lack ability, it's a hurdle, and people will block you and drive you away. This isn't to encourage us to look down on the weak, but to remind us not to make our own weakness an excuse to demand that others accommodate us unconditionally.
The story about the neighbor in the book is quite interesting. Someone kindly helped him change a light bulb, and his immediate reaction was, "I'm not paying for this." Later, when the light broke again and no one helped, he complained that his neighbors were cold-hearted.
This is the weak mindset the author criticizes. Being weak isn't the problem. The problem is taking and needing help as others should naturally help me. Just because others offer to help doesn't mean they have nothing better to do. Just because they don't expect anything in return doesn't mean you shouldn't show gratitude. Many people claim they don't want to trouble others, but in reality, they are constantly doing so. And they don't even offer a sincere thank you.
This also applies to the workplace. Many people feel their boss undervalues them or their colleagues disrespect them. But they never stop to think that what a company actually needs is someone who gets things done well. Not someone who puts on a show about how hard they work or how wrong they feel.
There's a mystico in the book who, when he was young, felt his boss was bad and his colleagues were snobs. Only after becoming a department manager who could hold his own did he understand one thing. Most of the time, others' attitudes are not about good versus evil. They simply depend on whether you are a strong person who can hold your own, or a weak person who blames everything blindly. When you are weak, the world seems exceptionally harsh. But when you get strong, many of those sour faces will suddenly disappear.
So the author isn't telling us to suck up to power, he's telling us to build our skills first.
Right. Don't rush to scour the world for connections, friends, or soulmates. The essence of networking is a partnership of the strong, where each gets what they need. Not a free ride on someone else's coattails. If you have nothing valuable to bring to the table, no matter how much you cling, you're just lowering your own worth. What you really should do is work hard in silence and quietly become formidable. If others treat you well, you must do well so you can return the favor later. If others treat you poorly, you must do even better so you can hold your head high later. The most sobering realization in a relationship is knowing who is not worth it.
The part of this book about relationships is also extremely clear-headed, maybe even a bit ruthless. The author says, if you lose some people, you should really thank your lucky stars.
This sentence is written for those trapped in toxic relationships. Several stories in the book remind us not to turn an unworthy person into the entirety of your life. After a breakup, what many people want to ask most is, what did I actually mean to you? But the author says, the reality might be that you were never in their heart to begin with. Stop emphasizing how much you have given. Because if you live your life burdened by the past, it's no different from imprisoning yourself.
The author is also strongly against dragging things out, especially when dealing with people who deceive, keep things vague, or flirt and run. The most important thing is not to give them another chance, but to wake yourself up.
The test of sincerity is not in what they say, but in what they do. In this era of instant communication, anyone can say goodnight. Anyone can say they like you, and anyone can remind you to sleep early and wake up early. But if someone's care lacks consistent action, and only appears when you are about to leave, it's highly likely they just don't want you to stop loving them.
And then there are those who flirt and run. They never define the relationship but feed you endless hints. And when you start getting serious, they backtrack and say, isn't it great to just be friends? This kind of person is truly terrifying.
The author calls these people casual flirts. He might just happen to be free, and you just happen to be online. Or they're just casting a wide net, doing some selective harvesting. The scariest part is, you actually felt the red flags long ago. But you didn't want to ruin it, because being flirted with did feel pretty good. But once you get used to their presence, they can walk away at any second. You thought you were one in a million, when you were actually just one of their 10,000 options.
So the author's advice is very practical. Before you can tell sincerity from a game, focus on how to build a good life on your own. Money, skills, emotional stability, and health are far more reliable than someone's hit or miss greetings.
Exactly. Your sense of security should come from stable emotions, growing capabilities, a solid bank balance, and a self-sufficient life. Not from someone else's unpredictable, half-hearted check-ins. Love is beautiful, but it cannot be used to patch up all the holes in your life. When you can't stand firm on your own, any relationship might look like a lifeline. But it could also become the rope that strangles you. Have your edge, but keep a little kindness.
Although this book is very sharp-tongued, it's not teaching people to be mean. On the contrary, the author actually values kindness very highly. He has a chapter called, "Your Edge Should Have a Little Kindness."
This chapter is key because it prevents readers from misunderstanding the title. The author isn't telling you to become a cold, cynical person who doesn't care about anyone. Instead, he reminds us that you can have thorns, but don't just prick people for no reason. You can have an edge, but don't let justice turn into another form of violence. True kindness isn't about standing on a moral high ground to judge others, but asking yourself when you see someone struggling, what if I were them?
The book's section on cyberbullying is incredibly powerful. Someone did make a mistake, but the punishment they faced later went far beyond their original mistake. Onlookers swarmed them with the most vicious language, believing they were serving justice.
The author raises 3 questions that everyone in the social media era should remember. First, is this act genuinely evil, or just distasteful? Second, if they are in the wrong, who actually has the right to judge them? Third, what level of punishment would actually satisfy you? Many people aren't defending justice, they are just using outrage to vent their own malice. Upholding morality through immoral means is like drinking poison to quench thirst. Punishing a mistake with the wrong methods is like fighting fire with gasoline.
This actually connects back to the shutting up we discussed earlier. Often, holding back a vicious comment is a form of kindness.
As humans, we must remain kind and not let others' darkness extinguish every bit of our light. But kindness isn't about people-pleasing without limits. You can show empathy, but you don't have to let others emotionally hijack you. You can lend a hand, but you don't need to drag yourself into the mud. Mature kindness is kindness with boundaries. A mature edge is a well-mannered edge.
So what this book advocates for is a balanced person, neither so weak that they have no boundaries, nor so sharp that they hurt everyone around them.
Truly mature people are sophisticated but not cynical. They have their own opinions but maintain a sense of propriety, they have an edge but also possess kindness. They don't need to conform to others to feel secure, nor do they need to look down on others to feel superior. When someone treats them like nothing, they still respect themselves. And when someone flatters them, they don't take themselves too seriously. This is the clarity the book talks about over and over. Allow others to be different, and let them be whichever way.
In the second half, there is a viewpoint in the book that I really love. Allow others to be different from you, and let them be whichever way they want. This sounds easy, but it's actually very hard to do.
Because it's so easy for people to treat their own standards as the standards of the world. If you don't like a design, you think the designer is terrible. If you don't agree with a lifestyle, you think they have a problem. If you are used to lively crowds, you can't understand why someone enjoys being alone. If you value marriage, you want to lecture single people. But when you find something unreasonable, it's not necessarily because others are wrong. It's highly likely that the thing was simply never meant for you in the first place.
The story about the tackle shop in the book is brilliant. Someone saw the shiny lures and asked the shop owner, "Do fish really like these?" The owner replied, "These aren't made for the fish." That line is witty, and it actually goes deep.
Yes. Most of the time, when we don't understand something, it's simply because we are not its target audience. This principle applies to relationships too. If you can never agree with someone, it might not be because one of you is stupid, but because your life experiences are different. A person's conclusions are often a distillation of their entire life. You can't rewrite decades of their experience with just 3 sentences.
So stop trying to convince everyone.
Exactly. Most attempts to convince others are completely futile and only end up annoying them. Between adults, hearing clearly and speaking plainly is enough. Seeking common ground while respecting differences is the mark of a mature relationship. You no longer feel like you have to explain everything, and you no longer feel that not being understood is a big deal. Mutual understanding is the ideal, mutual misunderstanding is the reality.
This is actually another layer of the book's title. Many things are really not worth arguing about. Where others are heading in life is none of your business. And their lack of understanding toward you is, in most cases, none of my business. It's not because we are cold-blooded, but because we've finally learned to save our energy for the people and things that truly matter. Better to be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie.
For the final chapter, I want to talk about a key word in this book, clarity. The author has a chapter called Better to be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie. This sentence feels like a summary of the whole book.
Clarity means no longer fooling yourself with beautiful excuses. For example, if someone doesn't like you, you could say it's a personality clash, or that the timing was off. But the truth might simply be you didn't impress them enough for them to choose you. These words hurt, but they are much more useful than self-comforting thoughts like "he's just afraid of love." Being hurt by the truth at least gives you a chance to adjust. Being comforted by a lie will only keep you wasting away in the same spot.
What's really dragging you down isn't that you're not smooth enough, but that you're just not competent enough. Many people use "I don't know how to play the social game" as an excuse for all their failures, while ignoring the core issues, a lack of competitiveness, no growth, and no reliable skills to speak of.
The author isn't asking everyone to become socially slick. On the contrary, he says it's perfectly fine if you're not smooth. Not being a people person isn't fatal. What is fatal is having no ambition and possessing no skills whatsoever. You can be temporarily clumsy, temporarily slow to catch on, and temporarily lacking a presence. But what actually matters is whether you still have ambition and whether you are willing to make changes right now. When no one is paying attention to you, your hard study, diligent work, and rigorous practice, all these things that others don't see, are pushing you toward becoming a more reliable, more interesting, and more substantial version of yourself.
So, if we were to condense the whole book into a few actionable reminders, what would you say, Professor?
I would summarize it in 5 sentences. First, don't cross boundaries. With people you don't know well, don't pry too deep. Don't touch other people's privacy. And don't take other people's time for granted. Second, watch your mouth. It's not that you can't express yourself, but rather, offer less unsolicited advice, argue less, and don't hurt people with jokes. Third, control your emotions. Throwing a fit feels great, but cleaning up the mess is expensive. Fourth, hone your skills. The world might not be gentle, but your abilities will give you more choices. Fifth, allow differences. Many things don't need convincing, many relationships don't need forcing, and many opinions don't need a response.
These 5 sentences actually bring us right back to the book's title. What I am responsible for, I take care of. What is none of my business, I keep my distance. Other people's lives are not my test papers. And my life doesn't need to be graded by everyone else either.
Finally, we'd like to share a very important piece of wisdom from the book with everyone. If you want to grow into a great tree, don't compete with the grass. A general with a sword does not waste it on flies. May you find your own voice amidst the chaos of life. May you keep your head and keep your kindness in a world that is half good and half bad.
May everyone live none of your business as respect for others, and none of my business as freedom for themselves. It's not avoidance, and it's not apathy, but a clear understanding that I am responsible for my life. I wish the best for others' lives.
Thank you so much, Professor, for today's brilliant analysis. We also highly recommend reading this book by Lao Yang's Owl. Life is only about 2 things: none of your business and none of my business. If you liked today's video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next book. Bye.
Thank you everyone, and see you next time.